Okay, so figured I'd show what the machine is doing here. But I guess first a little backstory on it because I always find that important when I'm working on stuff. So this is now a two-owner machine. I'm the second owner of it. It was purchased from a John Deere dealership, owned by my customer for 28 years or whatever it was, and then bought by me. And all three of those are in the same county. So, it hasn't been all over the place. It was never a rental machine or nothing like that. And I think that's really cool. I like that it wasn't, the village whore before I got it. But I had, my customer had called me a couple years ago when this thing first started acting up. They were using this as, a daily piece of equipment up until it started acting up. And I got called by my customer to come down and look at it. And when I went down there, it just wouldn't go into forward at all whatsoever. It would go into reverse, but it would delay to go into reverse, and it would actually overflow the reverser reservoir and leak out on the ground. And from talking with one of the employees there who had run this thing for a couple years, they could drive it around for a little while with it overflowing until and then it would just kind of fall on its face and do nothing. They'd pour oil in the reverser and they'd drive it around for a little while until it got to the point where it wouldn't go into forward at all. Like I said, when I went down there, it wouldn't go into forward whatsoever. And I just kind of looked at it real quick, and the places, like my customers, they have a strange way of doing things sometimes. And so the one employee was asking me well, what could it be and all this kind of stuff. And, it was covered in, 400 or 500 pounds of bark mulch and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, first things first, we need to, clean all this shit up and everything and get a good look at it and see if we can figure out what's going on. And he was kind of expecting me to have a crystal ball. And I just told him, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a $5 O-ring or a $5,000 part. I don't know if it's going to be 20 minutes to fix or 20 hours. I have no idea. We'd have to get into it and actually, see. But like I, was saying, was I wanted to clean it up first. And this is a two-wheel drive with fucking racing slicks on the front, and then two-wheel drive front end. It does have a 4-in-1 bucket, which is really cool, and then a cab. But it seemed like they just kind of used the reverser issue as an excuse to get rid of it. They were like, oh, well, needs tires and blah, 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 and we just don't want to put the money into it, so fuck it, we'll just buy a new machine, which I wish I had that kind of cash lying around. Anyways, so it unfortunately sat for a number of years and just kind of rotted into the ground until long story short, and information that's not relevant to the conversation, that I finally got the machine from them. So I really kind of bought it sight unseen. The only time that I had looked at it was that one time when it was having the reverser problem, and I really honestly didn't know what I was getting into. I hadn't gone around and kicked the tires and checked the pins and any of that kind of stuff. And so when me and a buddy went to go pick it up, I thought we were going to have to winch it on the trailer. And we moved it with just a, normal 25-foot gooseneck trailer with, fold-out ramps. It wasn't like a hydraulic dovetail or nothing like that, just normal 25-foot gooseneck. And I was actually, really shocked, because, again, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was really shocked that it drove up on the trailer in first gear perfectly fine. felt like everything was normal except for the fact that there was a delay for it to go into forward. And yeah, you know, I was kind of thinking to myself like, okay, cool, you know, maybe this isn't going to be as much of a deal as I thought it was. And then got it to my place here, and was, you know, just doing some random shit, moving brush and moving firewood and everything. And basically the forward position, it going into forward is getting worse to the point where right now it won't engage into forward at all. And but when it did engage into forward, it felt like it was holding power just fine. It didn't feel like the clutches and the reverser were slipping or anything like that. To me, it seems to be a like an actual engagement issue, if you will. But once it finally grabs forward or reverse, then it'll hold power just fine and doesn't slip or anything like that. So I would imagine that it's a control issue more than it is necessarily, if you will, a mechanical problem with the with the reverser. And when I dropped the oil pan on the reverser, you know, there was some debris down in there, but there wasn't, you know, massive amounts of clutch material or ball bearing or gear teeth or kibble and bits or nothing like that. So anyways, that's a little bit of the backstory on it. I'll fire it up here and show you what it's doing. Of course, now that I got the fucking camera out, it's probably going to go into forward, but we'll see. And I guess I should say that it's been running for I don't know, 20 minutes already today. I have noticed a little bit that I've been using it, that it likes to run for about 15-20 minutes before it will do anything. So it has been running a little bit. I changed the reverser oil with factory John Deere High Guard twice now. It is actually over full at the moment, because I just didn't realize how little oil the reversers took. But it has not changed the symptom whatsoever. It still acts 100% like it did before, so I don't imagine that the reverser being over full is the problem. But I will correct that in the future, you know, probably later this week, and see what that does. Anyways, so parking brake's on right now. Turn the parking brake off. The light does stay on for a little while, which I don't know is that normal or not. I've actually never even paid attention to that before. And it's got 98.45 hours on it. So we are in parking brakes released, we're in neutral, and we're first gear at the moment. And so if I try to go forward, it does absolutely nothing. If I go into reverse, you can see that there's a delay, and there's a delay every time I go into reverse. And when it was wanting to go forward, there would be that same amount of time delay to go forward than it does reverse, but of course now it's not going into forward at all. But like I said, when it does go into reverse, it feels like, you know, it feels like it's holding the power just fine. And so now we'll go into fourth gear and go into reverse. And so a little bit of a delay, but it'll move just fine. And so there's third gear. And second gear. And first gear. So try forward one more time. Still in first gear. And as you can see, absolutely nothing. The other thing that I've done is I've played around with the solenoids on the side of the reverser. And so the key is on right now. Key is on, parking brake switch is off, and you should be able to hear the solenoids clicking, or the yeah, solenoids, I suppose. And so this is going into reverse. Sounds energetic and happy. And that's forward, and it's less energetic and less happy, I suppose. So forward again. And reverse. And you know, I'm suspecting that it's maybe the valve section of the solenoid, because it's got two electromagnets on it, and I guess I'll show that more later. But it's got two electromagnets on it that seem to be, you know, one magnet for forward, one magnet for reverse, and then one valve that I would assume has multiple orifices in there for one forward, one reverse. I pulled the magnets off and check them with a power probe, and you know, stick a screwdriver in there and it magnetizes them and what seems fine. And I actually switched the magnets top to bottom, so like switch their position on the valve, and it didn't actually change the symptom at all, other than when you would put it in a forward, the machine would actually go backwards, which I thought was weird. But anyways, I need to dig into that more later, and I just don't really have the time for it right now. And I will video that process as that happens. But if anybody has any experience with this, or you know, would be willing to, you know, video their machine and how it reacts and the sound of those reverser solenoids clicking or anything like that, just so I could have something to compare to, that'd be very much appreciated.